Hello, Dostoyevsky lovers. It's me again, Patrick Bergman, and now it's time for Book 11, The Brother Ivan Karamazov. We haven't forgotten him, and in this book, a lot of things happen again. It's very hectic. Lise is turning slightly mad. Ivan is going even further down that road, while Grushenka has matured after being ill, and Alyosha is still the comforting man he has been all through the book. Even more so now, I think. We also have three very intense dialogues between Ivan and Smerdyakov, so please pay attention to these. And at the end, goes even further down the road for Ivan. He meets the gentleman, the devil. See you on the other side.
Shadows lengthen as we enter the penultimate act, where convictions falter and philosophies collide. Ivan's formidable intellect, once a bastion of reason, now buckles under the weight of moral consequence. For in the unraveling of a heinous crime, the inescapable chains linking humanity are revealed. No one stands alone. Our lives inextricably shape one another, for good or ill. As Ivan's icy facade cracks, we witness the cost of rejecting this truth, of barricading oneself from the community of man. Yet even amidst the wreckage, redemption stirs for those who accept suffering's purifying flame. Now the final reckoning nears, where proud citadels of logic lay ruined, but profoundest human truths endure. Let us proceed humbly into this darkness, probing together towards distant lights. The hour is late, but faint songs of hope still echo. Grushenka recounts to Alexei her visit to Dmitri in prison, where she brought him buns called pirojki. Dmitri's jealousy over her past with Samsonov prompts a negative reaction, leading him to throw the pastries back at her. Grushenka shares with Alexei the series of letters she received from her ex-fiancé, Pan Musyalovich, asking for money. She details her visit to his home, where she discovered the abject poverty he and his companions were living in. Grushenka reveals her doubts about Dmitri's love for her, believing he may still harbor feelings for Katerina Ivanovna. Alexei tries to assure her of Dmitri's affections for her, but Grushenka remains emotional. Grushenka is convinced that Smerdyakov is behind Fyodor's murder. Alexei informs her of the questioning Smerdyakov has undergone and shares updates about the funds raised for Dmitri's defense lawyer, Fetyukovich. Grushenka seeks clarity on Ivan's feelings for Katerina Ivanovna. Upon hearing Alexei's thoughts, she believes Dmitri might have lied to her about their relationship, causing her further distress. Both Grushenka and Katerina Ivanovna showcase a desire to care for Dmitri. Grushenka's gesture of bringing pirojki is reminiscent of Katerina Ivanovna's past efforts to look after Dmitri out of a sense of duty. Their actions may be rooted in a desire to feel righteous and alleviate his pain. The revelation about the Polish officer's true intentions of reconnecting with Grushenka for monetary gains paints a bleak picture of their circumstances. Their actions, including swindling Grushenka and cheating in card games, are desperate attempts to stave off starvation. The chapter shines a light on the complexities of their relationship. The undercurrents of jealousy, doubts, and emotional turmoil are evident. Grushenka's suspicion about Dmitri's lingering feelings for Katerina Ivanovna adds a layer of tension to their already volatile bond. Grushenka's conviction regarding Smerdyakov's involvement in the murder, coupled with the general reluctance to suspect him due to his health and Dmitri's own dismissals, heightens the mystery surrounding Fyodor's death. The chapter underscores Alexei's role as a counselor, with many seeking his advice and insights. However, his limited worldly experiences may sometimes hinder the accuracy of his understanding. Despite this, his comforting demeanor makes others trust his words, overlooking potential flaws in his advice. Alexei visits Madame Koklakov, who is preparing to attend Dmitri's trial as a witness. Madame Koklakov, suffering from an ailing foot, intends to be carried into Dmitri's trial in an armchair. Despite this, she harbors uncertainty about her testimony. Madame Koklakov shares an article that labels her as Dmitri's dear friend. The article, likely penned by Rakitin, who she believes is infatuated with her, portrays her as a youthful widow who once offered Dmitri money to leave for Siberia shortly before Fyodor's murder. Pondering the concept of a fit of passion, Madame Koklakov theorizes that Dmitri might have killed Fyodor in such a state and possibly doesn't recall the act. She advocates for Dmitri's forgiveness, envisioning a rehabilitated future for him, even seeing potential in him becoming a justice of the peace. Madame Koklakov expresses deep concern for her daughter Lise, suspecting her mental well-being might be compromised. Detailing recent events, Madame Koklakov reveals that Ivan secretly visited Lise, after which Lise displayed an emotional outburst and forbade further meetings with Ivan. She implores Alexei to seek answers from Lise about the nature of their interaction. Madame Koklakov plans a grand entrance for Dmitri's trial, a gesture reflecting her elevated self-view. However, beneath this display of confidence lies a web of uncertainty about what she will testify, showcasing the unpredictability of life when under public scrutiny. An article ties Madame Koklakov closely with Dmitri, casting her in an unexpected light. Whether Rakitin, driven by personal feelings or ulterior motives, authored this portrayal, it underscores the power words have in shaping public perception and the vulnerabilities they can expose. Madame Koklakov ponders the nature of impulsive acts, suggesting that Dmitri might have acted in the heat of the moment, only to later forget. She remains hopeful for his redemption, emphasizing the idea that those who faltered might, with understanding and support, rise to roles of responsibility and respect. Madame Koklakov's worries for Lise illuminate the timeless bond between parent and child. Her concerns remind us of the deep connections that tie generations and the lengths to which a parent will go to ensure a child's well-being. A short, secret meeting between Ivan and Lise leaves lasting repercussions, notably Lise's emotional upheaval. The incident, shrouded in mystery, draws Alexei into its orbit, prompting him to delve deeper and uncover the truth behind their interaction. When Alexei enters Lise's room, he notes that there's something wicked and guileless about Lise now. She tells Alexei that she loves him very much, but she doesn't respect him. Alexei asks why Lise sent for him. She says that she wants someone to marry her and torment her. She wants disorder. She would even like to set fire to her house. Alexei says that her rich life is the cause of her discontent, but Lise doesn't think it's better to be poor. She'll eat candy and drink cream and share none of it. If she's ever poor, she says, she'll kill someone. Then again, maybe she'll do that anyway. Alexei says that Lise takes evil for good, which he chalks up to a momentary crisis due to her illness. Lise says that she wants to do evil, and her illness has nothing to do with it. She also mentions that people actually love that Dmitri killed his father, though they say that it's terrible. Lise says that she's the first to love it. Lise tells Alexei to go to his brother. She pushes him out the door and gives him a letter addressed to Ivan. She then slams the door, unlocks and opens the door, puts her finger into the chink and slams it again, crushing her finger with all her might. She whispers to herself about how mean she is. Lise clings to her former identity as an invalid, potentially out of fear of not being accepted otherwise. Her frustration is worsened by her resentment towards Alexei's untiring goodness, and her desire to cause others the same pain she believes she endures. Lise's growing frustration, caused in part by her mother's overbearing nature and intrusion on her sexual maturity, leads her down a path of self-destruction and nihilism, reflecting a crisis common in Dostoyevsky's characters. Lise's inability to rebel due to her gender and previous paralysis heightens her feelings of frustration and helplessness. This is evident when she offers herself to Ivan, which Alexei interprets as a result of her lack of faith. Lisa's self-mutilation symbolizes her belief that she will only be noticed if she's in pain. This shift from her past concern about Alexei's injured finger signifies her tragic end, as she resorts to self-harm and harm to others in a desperate attempt to understand her world. This is a brutal ending for Lise, who doesn't appear again in the book. Alexei, during his visit to Dmitri, encounters Rakitin. Despite their lack of friendship, Rakitin has been visiting Dmitri often, potentially to write an article about him, portraying him as a product of his environment. Dmitri shares his torment over questions of God's existence. Influenced by Rakitin's and Ivan's perspectives, he grapples with the basis of morality without God's presence. Dmitri is wary of his lawyer and hopes to avoid further shame during Katerina Ivanovna's testimony. He also discusses his complex relationship with Grushenka and his past mistakes with her. Dmitri reveals Ivan's escape proposal should he be convicted, though he himself shows limited hope for acquittal. Dmitri, yearning for validation, asks Alexei about his belief in Dmitri's innocence. Alexei's firm affirmation moves both, ending with Alexei's tearful departure. Rakitin's resentment towards Alexei is driven by feelings of inadequacy and a need for validation. He feels overshadowed by Alexei's moral stature, leading him to use Dmitri's case to advance his own agendas and establish his significance. Dmitri is deeply embroiled in a spiritual crisis, wrestling with questions about God and seeking clarity. His encounters with characters like Rakitin and Ivan, who challenge traditional beliefs, contrast sharply with his interactions with Alexei, a bastion of faith, highlighting his internal conflict between faith and doubt. Dmitri's relationships, especially with Katerina Ivanovna and Grushenka, are fraught with tension. His efforts to protect moments like Katerina's bowing reflect his struggles with honor and shame. His volatile relationship with Grushenka symbolizes his broader battles with passion, jealousy, and the quest for redemption. Facing a potential conviction, Dmitri appears resigned to his fate, showing skepticism towards his defense and Grigory's testimony. This acceptance contrasts with his typically passionate nature, indicating the deep impact of his legal troubles on his mindset. In Dmitri's ordeal, Alexei's steadfast belief in his innocence stands out as a source of hope. Their emotional exchange highlights their strong bond, reflecting Dostoyevsky's theme of family ties as anchors in times of moral conflict, offering solace and insight. Alexei visits Katerina Ivanovna and conveys Dmitri's concern about her testifying in court regarding the money incident. Katerina, however, appears determined to testify truthfully. Ivan, looking unwell and being described as having a nervous fever, appears to agitate Katerina, who sends Alexei after him out of concern. Ivan, however, brushes it off, mentioning that Katerina thinks he's crazy. Ivan laughs at Lisa's letter, recognizing her handwriting and disparagingly calling her a little demon. Despite Ivan's offensive remarks, he prefers to avoid further discussion about it. Alexei notes Katerina's love for Ivan, to which Ivan responds uncertainly, stating he doesn't fancy her. He continues to give Katerina hope because he's concerned she might seek revenge by destroying Dmitri if he rebuffs her before the trial. Ivan reveals that Katerina possesses a letter that proves mathematically Dmitri's guilt in Fyodor's murder, adding a suspenseful twist to the case. On his quest to meet Ivan, Alexei finds himself at Katerina Ivanovna's residence, where he reveals Dmitri's concerns about her upcoming testimony regarding the bowing down incident. This opens up a dialogue between them about the motivations behind Dmitri's request, ultimately leading to an exploration of their intricate relationship dynamics. Katerina Ivanovna's interaction with the mysterious and often deceitful Smerdyakov is noted, hinting at potential manipulations and intrigue. The reference to Smerdyakov as a parricide adds layers of complexity to the ongoing investigation and challenges the perspectives of those involved. When Alexei finally meets Ivan, their conversation is tense and revelatory. Ivan's deteriorating health, coupled with his seemingly dismissive attitude towards Lisa's letter, displays his internal chaos. Their dialogue further unveils Ivan's intricate feelings towards Katerina Ivanovna and the ongoing trial. Lisa's letter, handed to Ivan by Alexei, takes center stage in their interaction. Ivan's laughter and dismissive remarks about Lisa hint at deeper underlying issues, showcasing a side of Ivan that challenges Alexei's understanding of his brother. Ivan's feelings for Katerina Ivanovna are complex and shrouded in ambiguity. Despite admitting to not being infatuated with her, his actions suggest otherwise. The mention of a pivotal letter hinting at Dmitri's guilt adds further layers to the suspense, leading readers to question Ivan's true motivations. Ivan's suspicions about Smerdyakov are reflected in his perception of the lackey's mischievous grin and his doubt about Smerdyakov's ability to predict his falling fit. Smerdyakov's suggestion for Ivan to go to Chemashnya, as well as his interpretation of Ivan's compliment as criticism rather than praise, creates ambiguity about his intentions and complicates their relationship. An agreement between Ivan and Smerdyakov to withhold certain information during the trial furthers themes of concealment and strategic manipulation. A stark contrast is revealed in Ivan and Alexei's differing beliefs about Dmitri's guilt, illustrating a divergence in their interpretations of the evidence and their respective moral compasses. Ivan's shocking revelation of his past wish for their father's death strains his relationship with Alexei, who is taken aback by Ivan's candor, culminating in Ivan's subsequent avoidance of his brother. Ivan's decision to return to Smerdyakov signifies ongoing tensions, unresolved questions, and a persistent quest for understanding within their complex and ambiguous relationship. Ivan, analytical by nature, seeks doctors' opinions on Smerdyakov's illness and starts questioning Smerdyakov's intentions, pondering if his mischievous grin suggests malice or if it's a reflection of his own biases, leading him to suspect Smerdyakov's involvement in the murder. Smerdyakov skillfully instills guilt in Ivan, suggesting that Ivan's decision to leave for Moscow contributed to the family tragedy. This manipulation by Smerdyakov showcases his skill in influencing Ivan's thoughts. Ivan is taken aback by Smerdyakov's denial of faking epileptic fits, contradicting his earlier claims. This moment is critical for Ivan, hinting at Smerdyakov's possible use of his condition as a cover for the murder. Ivan struggles to accept Smerdyakov as a murderer, showing his underestimation of Smerdyakov's cunning and intelligence. This disbelief highlights Ivan's failure to grasp Smerdyakov's true nature. Ivan fixates on concrete evidence against Dmitri, clashing with Alexei and dismissing the possibility of Dmitri's innocence. This focus on evidence creates a rift between the brothers, underscoring Ivan's rigidity. Ivan's irritation with Alexei's views on murderous impulses, compounded by his own guilt, strains their relationship. This tension reflects Ivan's frustration with Alexei's perceived moral stance and his own internal conflicts. After Smerdyakov's hospital release, Ivan visits him at Maria Kondratyevna's place. Noticing Smerdyakov's recovery, Ivan confronts him about their earlier talk, suspecting a threat, leading to an intense exchange and demands for clarification. Smerdyakov hints that Ivan anticipated their father's murder, intensifying Ivan's rage. Ivan's impulsive slap, followed by regret, highlights his conflicted view of Smerdyakov's vulnerability. Smerdyakov hints at testing Ivan's stance on their father's death. Ivan, recognizing Smerdyakov's manipulation, accuses him of murder, receiving only a dismissive grin in response. Smerdyakov suggests Ivan's inheritance motive for Fyodor's death. Ivan admits suspecting Smerdyakov of potential murder, deepening his understanding of the family dynamics. Ivan visits Katerina Ivanovna burdened by guilt. He reveals his conversation with Smerdyakov and his indirect role in the murder. Their discussion shifts unexpectedly when Katerina shows Dmitri's damning letter. Despite Katerina's belief in Dmitri's guilt influenced by Ivan, he remains conflicted. Ivan's determination to unravel the truth leads him to plan another meeting with Smerdyakov, indicating a potentially explosive encounter. Smerdyakov, after recovering, converses with Ivan and suggests Ivan's implicit desire for his father's death. Ivan's angered reaction indirectly admits his guilt, as Smerdyakov skillfully uses Ivan's hidden wishes to heighten his guilt. Smerdyakov shifts the power balance by revealing a control over Ivan, breaking down his gentlemanly image. He confronts Ivan with his concealed motives, challenging Ivan's self-image and unacknowledged desires. Smerdyakov deceptively lies about the murder to mentally corner Ivan, not out of fear, but for manipulation. His deceit aims to deepen Ivan's guilt and unrest, showcasing Smerdyakov's calculated, manipulative approach. Smerdyakov contrasts the court official's probable support for Ivan with the public's possible agreement with his viewpoint. He underscores public opinion's importance, hinting at its significant role in the case's resolution. Ivan, burdened with guilt from his latent wish for his father's demise, confesses to Katerina but withholds the full truth. His profound guilt, a psychological weight, stems from his unacknowledged desires being realized. Katerina Ivanovna, presenting strong evidence of Dmitri's guilt, paradoxically remains loyal to him. This devotion highlights her virtue and contrasts her integrity with Dmitri's ethical shortcomings. Ivan, frustrated, pushes a singing drunk peasant before arriving at Smerdyakov's. Finding Smerdyakov ill but composed, Ivan's visit underscores his internal conflict about his possible role in Fyodor's murder, reflecting his moral turmoil. In their discussion, Smerdyakov implies Ivan's indirect murder involvement, leaving Ivan shocked and intensifying their tension. Smerdyakov admits to Fyodor's murder, showing money as evidence, and claims Dmitri's innocence, insisting Ivan influenced his actions. This confession deepens Ivan's shock and guilt. Smerdyakov describes the murder, highlighting his deception of Dmitri, the meticulous planning, and Fyodor's murder. His account implicates Ivan by underscoring his indirect influence. Ivan suggests a joint court confession, but Smerdyakov threatens denial if Ivan proceeds. This highlights Ivan's moral quandary and the consequences of revealing the truth. After leaving, Ivan helps the peasant he previously struck, an act contrasting his earlier behavior and symbolizing redemption. He returns home feeling ill, indicating ongoing mental distress. Ivan's emotional state deteriorates, leading him to act out violently, mimicking Dmitri's temperament. This represents a change in Ivan's behavior and indicates the inner turmoil he is experiencing due to the unfolding events related to Fyodor's murder. Smerdyakov's newfound calmness could be attributed to his confidence that no one would suspect him as the murderer. His amusement at Ivan's accusations points to his awareness of Ivan's indirect role in Fyodor's death, reinforcing the manipulation that Smerdyakov continues to use against Ivan. Smerdyakov's reveal as the murderer showcases his methodical and sharp mind. His ability to manipulate and predict people's behaviors, especially his half-brother Ivan, lends him an advantage in maintaining his innocence while framing others. Fyodor's obsession with Grushenka and his fear of Smerdyakov played into his downfall. Smerdyakov's successful execution of the murder with an in-room object underscores his planning and use of Fyodor's weaknesses against him. Smerdyakov's meticulously planned murder strategy considered the likely actions of others, exploiting their known characteristics. Ivan's sudden urge to confess indicates a rise in his conscience, contrasting with Smerdyakov's indifferent and nihilistic approach. Ivan's growing guilt over his perceived involvement in Fyodor's murder leads him to show goodwill towards others. However, his late realization and succumbing to a severe illness represent his impending personal downfall. His illness symbolizes his mental struggle and guilt, sealing both his and Dmitri's fate. Ivan falls prey to brain fever, causing delirium and hallucinations. Despite being advised to undertake serious treatment, Ivan neglects his health. His hallucination takes the form of a middle-aged gentleman dressed in tattered clothing. Ivan engages in conversation with the hallucinated gentleman, who is essentially a manifestation of Ivan's thoughts, particularly the negative ones. The gentleman expresses his wish to embody an ordinary person's life and enjoy the simple pleasures of faith and goodwill, contrasting Ivan's current turmoil. The gentleman's ignorance about God reflects Ivan's own skepticism, further confirming that the gentleman is Ivan's projection. He also agrees with Ivan's philosophy of disregarding unseen matters, highlighting Ivan's empirical mindset. The gentleman shares a story about a man walking a quadrillion kilometers, which Ivan laughs off as the same as lying down forever. Despite the gentleman claiming that the anecdote is worthwhile, Ivan dismisses him as a figment of his imagination. Ivan's discomfort grows, but the gentleman continues to share stories, asserting that he was present during significant historical events, such as Christ's crucifixion. He insists that he is the only one desiring good, hinting at the existential conflict within Ivan. The gentleman foretells that once humans renounce God, they will conquer nature and accept death, ushering in an era where everything is permitted. However, this ominous prophecy is interrupted by a knock on the window. The hallucination vanishes, revealing Alexei with the shocking news of Smerdyakov's suicide. Ivan's health deteriorates drastically due to brain fever. The strain from Dmitri's trial and his guilty conscience exacerbates his condition, causing him to hallucinate the devil, which he previously denied. This hallucination, known as the gentleman, shares uncanny resemblances with Fyodor Karamazov. Ivan perceives the gentleman as a manifestation of his own ego, a double, which is a recurring theme in Dostoyevsky's works. As the gentleman introduces himself as a fallen angel, Ivan's rebellion against the orthodox faith mirrors this depiction. Both are sensualists, inclined toward worldly pleasures. The gentleman can be seen as a projection of Ivan's beliefs. In a world without a literal devil or hell, Ivan's perception of the gentleman as a reflection of his spiritual torment is plausible. Interestingly, despite being a supernatural entity, the gentleman seems to adopt Ivan's atheistic beliefs. The chapter presents an existential question: to walk or live life, or to lie down, symbolizing apathy. While Ivan attempts to reassure himself that the gentleman is merely a hallucination, this situation reflects a possible reality of Ivan's existential crisis. The gentleman adopts Ivan's rational, fact-based outlook, but also subtly ridicules it. His claim of desiring good despite causing harm resembles the Grand Inquisitor, painting a disturbing image of the commonplace nature of evil. Dostoyevsky implies that the gentleman, or the devil, aligns with modern science and socialist politics, which often discount the need for God. The gentleman suggests that in a world where everyone has their moral code, each person becomes their own God, reiterating the idea that without God, everything is permitted. In a heart-wrenching twist, Smerdyakov has taken his own life, leaving behind a world filled with turmoil and questions. The poignant moment when Maria Kondratyevna stumbles upon his lifeless body accentuates the weight of this tragic event. When Alyosha conveys the news of Smerdyakov's death to Ivan, it isn't just the information that captures our attention, but also Ivan's peculiar reaction. This serves as a prelude to the deeper mystery surrounding Ivan's mental state. In a narrative turn that borders on the surreal, Ivan professes to a chilling encounter with the devil himself. This ethereal visitor not only mocks and ridicules Ivan, but also seems to possess knowledge that he shouldn't have possessed. Adding a layer of mystique to the unfolding drama, the devil claims to be privy to Smerdyakov's demise even before the news became public. This revelation blurs the lines between reality and hallucination, leaving readers on the edge of their seats. The manner in which Maria Kondratyevna discovers Smerdyakov's tragic end intensifies the already heightened drama. Her reaction is a mirror to the reader's sentiments, echoing the shock and sorrow of such a profound loss. Beyond the surface-level oddities in his behavior lies a maze of emotions and internal conflicts. Ivan's distant demeanor and dreamlike state hint at a possible mental unrest, reflecting the complexity of his character and the burdens he bears. The devil's sudden appearance in Ivan's narrative isn't just a mere plot twist. Whether this figure is a figment of Ivan's imagination or a real entity, he embodies the tussle between Ivan's sense of right and wrong, guilt and justification, sanity and delusion. The devil's alleged prior knowledge about Smerdyakov's death ventures into the realm of the supernatural. This narrative choice challenges readers to ponder over the elasticity of reality within the story, provoking questions about what's real and what's a mere illusion. We emerge from the shadows, shaken by truths long ignored. No man is an island. Our fates are bound though we turn away. Ivan's proud intellect now lies in fragments, his dark night of the soul a cautionary tale. Yet devotion offers solace where reason fails. As Alyosha tends to faltering hearts, we see faith's quiet force, binding humanity in shepherding love. Though malicious seeds sprout monstrous bloom, virtue sows redemption in suffering's furrowed soil. We step forward, chastened by dangers born of division. Now the final contest between gentle wisdom and acrid despair remains, but a subtle grace stirs in the spaces between, whispering, "No light is ever wasted, no act of love ever forgotten." Let this sustain us as the old order crumbles and we grope together towards fresher mornings. Welcome to a unique gathering where literary figures renowned for their cunning and insight into human nature join us. From the brothers Karamazov, Faust, and the Master and Margarita, these devils from literature have witnessed the depths of human struggle. Today, we pose a crucial question. How can humanity navigate life without succumbing to your influence? Let's delve into their perspectives on morality, free will, and the complexities of the human soul.
In my time with Ivan, I observed the human drive for questioning the divine and the moral, his internal battles, his skepticism about God, and the subsequent moral relativism reveal much about the human condition. In their quest for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe, they often find themselves at the crossroads of good and evil, making choices that define their very essence.
Ah, Faust's journey is a testament to this. A brilliant scholar, yet so easily ensnared by his lust for knowledge, power, and sensual pleasures. His pact with me, a clear sign of human ambition's limits and the seductive power of the forbidden. Humans, in their pursuit of what lies beyond their grasp, often forget the moral consequences, blinded by their desires.
But within this human narrative, is there a path for resisting such temptations, for maintaining moral integrity?
An interesting question indeed. The tale I'm part of illustrates humanity's paradoxical nature. Despite their susceptibility to corruption and folly, humans like the Master and Margarita show an extraordinary capacity for love and sacrifice. Margarita's devotion, her willingness to endure trials for the sake of love, embodies a powerful resistance to darker forces. It's in these moments of selfless love and sacrifice that humans often find their strongest defense against temptation. Yet, let us not overlook the ease with which they yield to baser instincts, often cloaked in virtue. Ivan's philosophical explorations, for instance, brought him face to face with his own shadow, unveiling the darker aspects of his nature. It is in these moments of intellectual pride and moral uncertainty that humans are most vulnerable, teetering on the edge of their own abyss.
Indeed, the duality of their free will, their greatest gift and curse. Faust's Odyssey underlines this, showcasing the intricate dance of desire and consequence. Each choice, laden with potential for greatness or ruin, reflects the intricate tapestry of human desire. In their freedom lies their greatest drama and their most profound trials.
Correct. And yet, it is in embracing this complexity, in acknowledging the chaos and contradictions within, that humans find their true essence. Our role is not to dictate, but to reveal, to hold a mirror to their souls, showing them the truths they often evade, the depths they seldom explore.
Our discussion today with these enigmatic figures has traversed the labyrinth of human nature. It's a journey marked by moral struggles, by the pull of desire and the quest for truth. While our guests personify the darker aspects of temptation and revelation, their insights urge us to contemplate the ongoing human endeavor to balance free will with moral integrity. This conversation leaves us with much to ponder on our own paths. Thank you for joining us in this profound exploration. Ivan gazed out his study window, observing the peaceful countryside, so at odds with the tempest raging within. How quickly his formidable intellect had collapsed, proving hollow in practice. He had prided himself on his rationalism, his willingness to rebel against antiquated traditions. How boldly he had proclaimed humanity's innate goodness, independent of any divine force. Yet now his theories lay in fragments. In the void left by his unbelief, others had seized permission to unleash their darkest desires. Ivan found himself complicit, his hands stained with blood. For who could judge right or wrong in his relativistic world unfettered by God? Ivan shuddered, tears slipping down his hollow cheeks. How quick he had been to judge from the security of abstraction. Only now did he feel the true cost of his convictions, as deadly seeds bore poisonous fruit. Outside, quiet hills undulated on. But Ivan's storm-tossed mind found no rest, adrift without compass. He had proven so much, yet understood so little of this ineffable, eternal world. Alyosha gazed out at the monastery courtyard, a serene oasis from the gathering storms. As conflict engulfed his brothers, his quiet devotion held steady. Ivan had warned of the world's injustice, but Alyosha met its suffering with practical love. While Ivan's intellect recoiled in horror, Alyosha drew near, easing anguish where he could. At the prison, faith compelled Alyosha to affirm Dmitri's innocence. Though evidence mounted against his brother, truth would be revealed in time. Alyosha moved gently among the wounded, counseling Grushenka, comforting Madame Koklakov, guiding uncertain youth. His presence brought sparks of hope to weary hearts. As the clamor of passions and competing philosophies swelled, Alyosha's faith provided a fixed point, a guiding star. Its light would endure long after proud theories faded. For beyond arguments over guilt and innocence, Alyosha discerned subtle stirrings of redemption. Though the mysteries of this life remained unsolved, whisperings in the quiet heart could not be ignored. So he weathered the storms in humble service, following love's compass through the gathering dark. The radiance of faith lit his way and would illuminate whatever awaited in the shadows ahead. Smerdyakov gazed out his cottage window at the gloomy countryside. The peace of this pastoral scene belied the tempest in his twisted soul. His dark deeds had borne terrible fruit. Driven by servile spite, Smerdyakov had embraced Ivan's cold philosophy, becoming the instrument of destruction it required. He had savored matching wits against the intellectual master, but in the void left by slain faith, a moral wasteland beckoned. No divine law now constrained human cruelty. So Smerdyakov had unleashed his pitiless desires, aspiring to power through murderous treachery. In the quiet aftermath, though, no triumph came, only gnawing anguish and paranoia. For even as Ivan's proud reason collapsed, remorse stirred in Smerdyakov's gloomy heart. Now Ivan's lofty philosophies and the counsels of the righteous tormented his thoughts. Smerdyakov had overreached, grasped at diabolical greatness beyond a base man's due. No more could he enjoy cunning games and lofty theories. A terrible reckoning awaited. With a last cry of despair, Smerdyakov chose to depart this world by his own hand. His legacy was merely a cautionary tale of ambition's folly. Dear Lise, As your story in the Brothers Karamazov draws to a close, we say farewell to a character whose depth and complexity have left an indelible mark. Your passionate spirit, embodied in your fervent emotions for Alyosha and your turbulent relationship with your mother, has painted a vivid portrait of youthful ardor and familial strife. The poignant contrast between your fiery independence and the constraints of your wheelchair, the intensity of your interactions within the Karamazov household, and the complex dynamics with your mother all reflect the multifaceted nature of human relationships. Your journey, marked by dreams and rebellion, and your struggle for autonomy against maternal overprotectiveness resonate deeply with the themes of love, freedom, and the quest for personal identity. As we part ways with you, we remember not just the trials you faced, but the resilient spirit you showed in facing them. Farewell, Lise. Your narrative, a blend of youthful defiance and a longing for understanding, leaves a lasting legacy of what it means to navigate the intricate pathways of family, love, and self-discovery. The gentleman surveyed the dishevelled study with a sneer, though his own attire had seen better days. He had come to pay a visit to the esteemed thinker Ivan, whose arrogant intellect now tottered on the brink. It was all too easy to insinuate himself into the minds of these doubting philosophers, to stoke the embers of their pet theories, and Ivan's cold conviction that God was dead had created a most receptive host. Ah, the pleasures of goading such men towards darker truths! The gentleman straightened his threadbare jacket with satisfaction. Ivan fancied his ideas so enlightened, but they merely echoed hellish whispers. Now Ivan recoiled at the blood staining his liberated world, yet one mere murder signified nothing. The gentleman longed to see Ivan's theories carried to their fullest ghastly potential, but something in the philosopher's horrified eyes gave him pause. Perhaps a vestige of his accursed conscience lingered. The gentleman scowled. Ivan's notions of guilt were mere delusions, of course. No matter, a few more gentle prods would send Ivan's precarious psyche into freefall. The gentleman smirked as he melted into the shadows. His work here was nearly done. Now let's see what a group of existentialists might have said about Book 11. Ivan's transformation from an intellectual and seemingly detached character to a guilt-ridden individual struggling with his own morals and perceived role in his father's death resonates with Salome's concept of self in relation. This shift in Ivan's identity under the influence of interpersonal relationships and events showcases Salome's perspective on personal development. Dmitri's acceptance of his recklessness and his guilt despite his innocence reflect Du Châtelet's emphasis on the power of rationality and personal responsibility. Dmitri's readiness to accept exile if it offers him a new lease on life also exhibits a clear desire for personal freedom, a principle that Du Châtelet highly valued. The complex emotional states of the characters, from Lise's self-loathing and Dmitri's guilt to Ivan's guilt and eventual breakdown, can be seen through Kristeva's lens of the semiotic and the symbolic. The raw emotions driving their actions represent the semiotic, while the societal rules and guilt they face represent the symbolic. Arendt's thoughts on responsibility and guilt are evident in Ivan's torment and guilt over his father's murder. Although he didn't physically commit the act, he feels morally responsible, and his struggle echoes Arendt's notions of personal responsibility in the face of wrongdoing. Alyosha's role as a comforting figure for his siblings reflects Jasper's idea of existential communication. Alyosha attempts to understand and support his brothers in their struggles, displaying a deep commitment to empathy and connection that is key to Jasper's existential philosophy. Ivan's internal conflict, oscillating between hope for truth and despair over his perceived responsibility for their father's murder, aligns with Marcel's existential focus on the tension between hope and despair. His struggle to reconcile his ideals with the harsh reality underscores Marcel's exploration of despair as a path to self-discovery and authenticity. And now let us dive into how we can view Book 11 through the lens of John Vervaeke's Awakening from the Meaning Crisis. In Book 11, Dmitri, Alyosha, and Ivan showcase their intelligence and problem-solving capabilities, each in their unique ways. However, their problems are tied up with emotions, ethics, and personal relationships, which are far more complex and difficult to solve than straightforward logical puzzles. Therefore, the theory of general problem solvers presented by Newell and Simon may not be directly applicable. The characters in Book 11 are dealing with a myriad of issues and information at once. For example, Ivan grapples with his guilt, suspicion towards Smerdyakov, and maintains relationships with Alyosha and Katerina. This demonstrates a kind of parallel distributed processing. Each character seems to use certain shortcuts or rules of thumb to help them make decisions. Dmitri, for instance, feels guilty and wants to be punished as if guided by the assumption guilty until proven innocent. Lise acts out of self-loathing, which might be an example of using the most readily available information to guide her actions. The story may not directly affirm Newell and Simon's theory of intelligence, but it does underline the complexities of intelligence and problem-solving in real-world, emotional, and personal contexts. The narrative shows the limitations of relying on heuristics, or mental shortcuts, to solve problems. The characters are dealing with personal and emotional issues, which aren't well suited to simple, rule-based solutions. Each character forms their understanding of their problems based on their emotions, beliefs, and relationships. For instance, Ivan's guilt shapes his perception of his involvement in his father's death, while Dmitri's fear about his future without Grushenka forms another unique problem. Techniques for managing mental and emotional health, like mindfulness, might help the characters deal with their inner turmoil and ethical dilemmas. However, these tools aren't explicitly mentioned or used in the story.
Congratulations for finishing book 11. The next book is the longest book. It's book 12 about the prosecution against Mitya. So take a deep breath. It will focus on nearly all the characters that have been around in the whole novel so far, except the ones who have died. And they will give their view on what has happened and if Mitya is guilty or not. See you there.